Our vocation as a bridge-building church is lived out through our ecumenical and interreligious relations. Our commitment to seeking mutual understanding through dialogue with other Christians makes visible our unity in Christ. Our capacity to unite in common action contributes to the flourishing of all. In a time of deep polarization and division, as well as rising violence and hatred, ensuring that our partnerships are strong is vital for the life of the world. Last year marked the 30th anniversary of our declaration to the Jewish community, through which the ELCA repudiated Luther's anti-Judaism and declared our urgent desire to live out our faith in Jesus Christ with love and respect for the Jewish people. These commitments are crucial in this time of rising anti-Jewish hatred and violence, and as opportunities to seek God's justice and mercy together abound. It is an honor to welcome Rabbi Rick Jacobs, President of the Union for Reform Judaism, and a wise colleague and friend who has my love and respect. Like I say, I'm the Rick Jacobs of the ELCA.
Psalm 133 said it best. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is for siblings to be together in unity. It's truly a blessing to be with you, my siblings in faith. Your sacred gathering honors our Creator, and I pray that your deliberations will help shape the world that God calls us to build. A more just and compassionate and peaceful world for all of God's children. Presiding Bishop Elizabeth Eaton, my profound gratitude for your friendship, gracious spirit, and listening heart, and for your consistently thoughtful responsiveness to the experiences, aspirations, and yes, even traumas of our Jewish community. This past November, Bishop Eaton invited me to join her at the Lutheran School of Theology. We reflected together on the 30th anniversary of the ELCA Declaration to the Jewish Community, which speaks with courageous truth about the harsh and deadly anti-Judaism and anti-Semitism of Martin Luther. It is deeply appreciated by the entire Jewish community. In that spirit today, we must work together to address the expanding manifestations of group hate against so many, including escalating anti-Semitism once again, and struggle together to address when legitimate criticism of Israel and Zionism spills over into anti-Semitism. ELCA siblings, I arrived yesterday afternoon in time to experience the beautiful beating heart of this church, the prayerful way you voted your inspiring new presiding bishop was very moving. The messages shared by the three final candidates resonated deeply, so deeply that as you were about to take the final vote, I turned to my cherished friend, Catherine Laurie, and I said, maybe the one who comes in second would like to help me lead the Reformed Jewish movement. It's an open invitation. Now, I didn't come to Phoenix because of a pro forma obligation. No, I came because of the depth of relationships, not only with Bishop Eaton and members of the church leadership, but also because of the deep bonds between our local synagogues and your churches. In communities throughout North America and beyond, we stand together. We fight for justice together. And when our faith demands, we even go to jail together. This past April, Pastor Jared Staller of St. Peter's Church in New York City invited me to participate in their annual Holocaust Memorial Service that the church has held every single year for the past 4 decades, joining with its sister congregation across the street, our Reform Movement's Central Synagogue. At a time when 1 in every 4 Jewish people here in North America is experiencing anti-Semitism, and all feel a sense of unease about the rising volume of anti-Semitic rhetoric, it can feel overwhelmingly lonely to commemorate the Holocaust only with fellow Jews. But sitting together, Lutherans and Reformed Jews that night, feeling the love of your remarkable St. Peter's Church community, friends, it felt redemptive. Last night, as I expect you will understand, was very challenging. I listened to Bishop-elect Haddad share his heartfelt and painful words. My heart broke for him and for what so many Palestinians endure. For decades, our Reformed Jewish movement has been fighting for a better future for Palestinians and Israelis. We've long opposed the occupation, the proliferation of Israeli settlements, and the outrageous settler violence being done with impunity against Palestinians. Long, we have fought for 2 states for 2 peoples. Long worked to build the possibility for a future of peace. This work is not limited to our Reformed Jewish movement, no. In all those efforts, we have been joined by Jews across the denominational spectrum, both here at home and, yes, in Israel. Let's remember that being a patriotic American means pushing back and protesting against the dangerous policies of the United States administration, especially when those decisions and policies go against the values we hold most dear, and the same applies in Israel. Being a supporter of Israel today means fighting for freedom, dignity, and security for Israelis and for Palestinians. And our fight against the extremist voices in the current Israeli government is about creating the Israel and the world that we want to see. Years ago, I was still a pulpit rabbi. I invited Bishop Yunan, who previously served as the Lutheran bishop for Jordan and the Holy Land, to speak at my congregation in New York. From that moment on, he became my friend and my teacher. Through the years when I brought groups to Israel, I always reached out to Bishop Yunan to see if he had time to meet with us at his Church of the Redeemer. You can find it in the old city of Jerusalem. It's the tallest building. It is a beacon of light. Everyone who met him was moved by his warmth, his authenticity, and by his frank observation of whatever was happening in the time. I vividly remember one particular summer. I was studying in Jerusalem during the Second Intifada, when Palestinian suicide bombers were blowing up buses all over Jerusalem. During that deadly summer, I reached out to Bishop Yunan to see if he had time to sit with me. I desperately needed to hear his wise words. When I was about to leave, he asked me how I was getting back to my apartment. When I told him that I was planning to take a public bus, he said that wasn't a safe plan. He insisted on driving me home. Beloved church, I came to this churchwide assembly also because of my love for Bishop Yunan, Bishop Eaton, and others. I stayed last night during the debate of D4, hoping to hear balanced conversation among this beloved community. I'm not here to debate. I'm here because I want you to know what this Jewish leader is feeling. And it's not just me. The Reformed Jewish movement is the largest Jewish denomination in North America with almost 2 million people. And we are your siblings in liberal religious faith and wait for it, we are deeply tied to Israel. We don't always agree with its politicians. In fact, sometimes we are really strongly opposed to its policies, including many put forth by the current government. But still, we love the people and the values upon which Israel was founded. Most of those values are in Israel's Declaration of Independence, and I quote, "To ensure complete equality of social and political rights to all Israel's inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, and sex." And yes, there is work to do in making that a reality. So yes, it is possible to strongly support the state of Israel and at the very same time to fight for the dignity and rights of Palestinians. Last night, I was hoping to hear more of that kind of both-and thinking, but I didn't. Maybe you heard about Sarah Milgram and Yaron Lashinsky. They were murdered in Washington, D.C. a few months ago as they walked out of a gathering at the Capitol Jewish Museum. It was a gathering to explore ways to create a more interconnected and peaceful world, yes, including the Middle East. Attending an event at a Jewish institution should not risk a person's life. But today across the globe, our Jewish community is increasingly targeted and vulnerable. It is also reported that the assailant cried out, "Free Palestine." Murdering Jews is not an act of freedom fighting. It's an act of terror. And then in Boulder, Colorado, a few weeks later, a group of peaceful protesters were marching on behalf of the remaining hostages in Gaza. An attacker used an incendiary device against them, hoping to incinerate the protesters. 12 individuals, including one 88-year-old Holocaust survivor, were injured, some with life-threatening illnesses and burns, and one has since died. The attacker cried out, "Free Palestine," similar to the attacker in D.C. that killed Yaron and Sarah. These attacks kill and injure Jews. They don't actually help the people of Gaza. We share your commitment to a free Palestine, free of tyranny and exploitation by Hamas, and free of Israel's occupation. Friends, I fear that the resolution you affirmed last night will make our community less safe. I feel it will embolden those who do not envision a peaceful future for Palestinians and Israelis. I recently entered one of our Reformed congregations with a Christian clergy colleague. He was overwhelmed by the intense TSA-like security we had to pass in order to enter the congregation. He told me that in his church, he likes to be warm and welcoming, and he was deeply disturbed by the needed security measures he saw. I told him that when our people are no longer slaughtered at prayer, as happened in Pittsburgh and Poway and too many other cities to name, we'd be able to stop all of these security protocols. I returned this past Monday from Israel, where I met with former hostages, hostage families, and Israeli political leaders. We press for the end of this war, the return of the 50 hostages still held in the tunnels of Gaza, and for the immediate and dramatic global effort with Israel's assistance to bring food and water and medicine for every civilian in Gaza. Hamas continues to sacrifice the Palestinian people in its pursuit of Israel's destruction. But we urged all those we met with that Israel must not sacrifice its own moral standing in response. The death of every innocent Gazan caught in this war is a tragedy, full stop. The hearts of our Jewish community continue to break over the scores of thousands of Gazans who have died or been wounded in the almost 2 years of this war, whether the result of Israel's tactics or Hamas's use of its civilians as human shields. Hamas built a network of a few hundred miles of tunnels to carry out its war against Israel. Those tunnels, they protect the Hamas fighters, but throughout this war, not one single Palestinian civilian was allowed to seek shelter in those tunnels during the war. I would have hoped to have heard in your resolution more empathy of how our community continues to grieve the slaughter of 1,200 Israelis and pray for the 3,300 wounded and the hundreds of victims of sexual violence on October 7th, along with the 250 hostages who included Muslims, Buddhists, and Christians. My close friends and colleagues who died on October 7th were the very people who fought hardest to build a peaceful future for Palestinians and Israelis. One of those teachers was Vivian Silver, the founder and leader of Women Wage Peace. In June of 2018, Vivian organized a peace rally right at the border between Israel and Gaza, literally along the fence. Hundreds of Israeli women, Jewish, Muslim, right-wing, left-wing, and Palestinian women in Gaza who stood at the fence holding their cell phones so that they could hear the speeches being given. And I was honored to be asked to speak by Vivian Silver. The brutal massacre on October 7th included extraordinary people like Vivian. It was as if Hamas was trying to murder not only people, but also the possibility for coexistence. And we, dear church, we must not allow them to kill the hope for a better tomorrow. The ELCA declaration to the Jewish community illuminates a path to a deep, respectful, and loving relationship. That fills me with enormous hope, a hope I am confident we together hold in common. Our shared work protecting immigrants and undocumented people over the past months is just one of many ways that relationship results in our working closely. The challenges facing our faith communities and our nation can feel overwhelming, but facing them together gives us the possibility of transforming for good the tide of hate, demonization, and anti-democratic attacks that threaten our freedom, our lives, and our future. But working together, oh yes, working together, we can and we will overcome. May that be the blessing of this gathering. May the blessing of the work we do hand in hand and shoulder to shoulder, including bringing peace everywhere, everywhere, and especially in the Middle East. Thank you.
You know, we Lutherans pride ourselves being a both-and church in an either-or world. And the things that we face in our own country, in our own church, and also that are going on in Israel and Palestine are just not that simple. But we still join in conversation and in action. So thank you.